Yeah, so this is an old guitar. Folks, welcome to this video where I basically talk at length about how much this guitar means to me. So it is kind of a love letter to this particular guitar, but also it should be useful for people who are interested in making guitars in general, but it should also be interesting particularly for people who are keen to find out what happens after a maiden guitar opens up after 5, 10, 15 years. This guitar is 17 years old, 17 or 18 years old. So it was built in 2007 and I bought it, I think I bought it just at the end of 2007, maybe the very first month of 2008. So it's an old guitar, as you can see. It has a custom sound hole built into it by yours truly. And I've grown really attached to this guitar over the years because it, you know, not to sound too sappy, but it has been with me through thick and thin. I've gigged the life out of it, as you can tell, and I just thought it would be a good idea to make a video on kind of tell you about the guitar itself and give you my verdict on a guitar, on a maiden guitar specifically, that is this old and has had so much time to open up and break in properly over the years. So the video is going to be split up into 3 sections really. I'll tell you first of all about the guitar itself. I'll give you all the specs about the guitar. The second section will be my thoughts on the guitar itself and how it's changed over the years, because it has changed, not dramatically, but it has changed noticeably. And I'm intimately familiar with this guitar, so I remember what it was like in the early days. I remember what it was like in the kind of halfway through the process, and I can tell you what I think of the guitar as it is today. And then the third section of the video, if you're still there by that stage, I'll just talk a bit about the guitar and what it means to me, the things that it has been through over the years, and some kind of light-hearted and funny stories about it. So you might find some interesting parts in section 1, 2 or 3, or all 3, or maybe none. I'll leave that up to you. So section 1. In this part of the video, I'm just going to talk about the guitar itself. So this is a maiden guitar, which are made in Australia. And this particular model is the EBG808 Artist. So as far as I'm aware, EBG stands for, the E is electric, which means it has a pickup system, which most maiden guitars these days do. I'm not sure whether maiden actually make any guitars these days without their pickup system in it. Maybe they do, but most of them tend to have this system, which I've spoken about before in previous videos. The BG stands for bluegrass, so it's the style of guitar, if you like, and the 808 it refers to the shape. So this is maiden's own shape. I think it's roughly the same as an OM, I think, or maybe a double O, I'm not sure. But that's what the guitar, that's what the model stands for. And Artist is just the type. So there's the Tommy Emmanuel series, there's the Blackwood series, and this one is the Artist. So the Artist series has Sitka spruce top, Blackwood, Aussie Blackwood back and sides, and as someone commented recently on the maiden guitar group on Facebook, I posted a couple of photographs of this guitar, and someone said that I hit the jackpot when it comes to the beauty of the wood, and I think I agree with them. This is a particularly nice or a particularly good example of how beautiful Aussie Blackwood can be visually. It's a beautiful wood to play with as well, as in it suits the sound of the guitar for sure, but it's also very nice to look at. It's kind of flamed, which is beautiful. I don't know whether this camera will pick up on it. Hopefully it will. Yeah. So you know, Blackwood can sometimes be very plain and almost like a mahogany. You know, it can be very straight grained, but this one has some nice cross silken or quilting, and it looks kind of flamed as well. Kind of looks like koa. It's a very similar wood to koa. But yeah, so Sitka spruce, Blackwood back and sides, and I think that's a mahogany neck. Gold hardware, rosewood fingerboard, rosewood bridge, and that's about it. So this guitar, when I bought this in 2007, 2008, it came with the APMic system, which Maton they don't produce it. As far as I'm aware, they don't produce it anymore. It was replaced by the AP5 Pro, which hopefully the camera can pick up on there. Originally it had the APMic system, which was amazing. It was so good. The AP5 Pro, some people are split on whether they prefer the APMic or the AP5 Pro. I think all in all I prefer the AP5 Pro because it gives you a bit more control, but they're roughly the same. And the difference really is that the AP5 Pro, let me see if you can see there, inside the sound hole you should be able to see the gooseneck microphone there. So that's physically that's one of the biggest differences, because the APMic system had a smaller microphone and it was suspended in a sponge block, and the sponge block was glued just inside the sound hole here. So around, I don't know whether you might be able to see. Is there somewhere? There's actually still a small bit of sponge there from because I removed it myself. I removed the old pickup system and put in the new one, which is the AP5 Pro. Luckily, it's a similar enough system that you can take one out and put a new one in, and it's, you know, everything fits basically. So that's the spec of the guitar. So we'll move on to section 2 of the video, which is my long-term review essentially of this guitar, because it has changed over the years. I mean, guitars do change, especially guitars that have spruce soundboards. They're well known to change over the years, and other woods as well. It's not just spruce, but if I'm going to be honest, I might as well be honest, because I'm not endorsed at all by Maton, and although I'm very fond of their guitars and I think they're a great company, they're very friendly and have always supported me over the years. This isn't a paid video. This is purely for entertainment, and someone out there might find it interesting. So there's no money involved in this, and there's no sponsorships. But I might as well be honest and say that when I first bought this guitar, it was an underwhelming acoustic sound, and I know I'm not the first person to say that about Maton guitars. To be fair, I didn't buy this for the acoustic sound. That wasn't its main draw for me. The main draw for me was always a guitar that I could rely on and gig with, that I could throw into the boot of the car and go and do gigs 5, 6, 7 nights a week. That's exactly why I bought the guitar, and this guitar has lived up to that, and it's lived up to my expectations and beyond. So I didn't buy this Maton hoping that it would sound like a high-end Loudon guitar. That's not what I was going for. I knew what I was getting into, and I've no regrets. But I might as well be honest and say that acoustically, this guitar isn't very inspiring. In the early days, I felt that the guitar sounded a bit muffled. The acoustic sound was slightly muffled to me, and even when I got the action and the setup all just sitting perfectly the way I wanted it to, it was kind of lacking for me anyway. Now over the years, as I have gigged this thing so hard in pubs and clubs and festivals and house concerts and shows and you name it, it has definitely changed. So the woods have stabilised, which they will do over time. But because of the amount, I mean, I played this guitar very heavily as a rhythm guitarist. You might know me on YouTube as more of a fingerstyle guitarist, and that is true. But I made my money from playing rhythm guitar in pubs and you know, in bars and things. That's kind of how I made my money, and it's definitely the most use that this guitar has had as a rhythm guitar. So we used to call it, when I was playing regularly and professionally, you know, I was playing full time in pubs and, you know, places, especially in Belfast. You would walk into a pub and you would see the places already heaving with people. You think, right, here we go. It might only be like 5 o'clock in the evening, 4 in the afternoon maybe, and you think, right, here we go. You have to brace yourself for it. So we would hump in the PA system, because we had to bring our own PA system. So 15-inch active speakers. You have to get this thing set up, and you have to make sure you do it without spilling people's drinks as you walk past and stuff. And the sweat would already be rolling down your forehead before you even strike your first chord. So we used to call those gigs big strummy, because it literally was set up the speakers, plug in the desk, plug in your mic, plug in the guitar, and just start making noise. Because that's what people wanted. They wanted to hear the songs that they enjoyed. They wanted to have a good time while they were drinking, and that's just the way it is. So we used to call that big strummy. So this guitar used to be. That's the kind of stuff we played in pubs. So this guitar, as you can see, I started to wear away the area where the pick guard was. I took the pick guard off. Probably should have kept it on. So this area of the guitar has all started to wear away, and as I mentioned, it has a custom secondary sound port. So that's just the way. That's just the nature of the work that this guitar was used for, and. I remember speaking to a luthier once back home, and he noticed this, and I don't know whether the hole had formed yet. Maybe it was just kind of starting to wear away, and he said, "You're going to have to get that fixed." And I said, No, it's okay, just leave it. And he said, "But it's going to affect the sound." And I said, that's okay. I mean, I plug this guitar in most of the time. And he said, "Okay, it's your choice." And in a way, he was right, but actually, I think the sound has improved. I don't know why, because it shouldn't have improved because of a second sound hole. It should have made the guitar sound worse, because the sound, I think, is being dispersed in two different directions outside of the instrument, whereas it should be focused. I don't know, but it sounds better to me, and it has done the guitar no harm whatsoever. Now, if I continue to play this guitar hard as a rhythm guitar, it probably will end up causing structural, well, I mean, it already is structural damage, but it might get worse and worse. So we'll see what happens. At the minute, I don't really use this guitar anymore for big strummy gigs, so it's fine. It never annoyed me. So you can see here as well. Now this was self-inflicted as well. I was going through my Tommy Emmanuel phase, and Tommy does that, that thing. So that was more experimental. So that this one didn't happen naturally, but everything else did. All these marks were all they all happened during gigs or recording sessions or whatever, just over the years. But yeah, so I'll talk a bit now about the guitar as it is today. So I mentioned that I wasn't really pushed on the sound of the guitar when it was brand new, and that is true. I think maybe there are some other Maton guitars out there that sound better when they're brand new. This one didn't sound, it wasn't bad. It had a nice, sweet, kind of mellow tone, but I always felt that, especially the trebles, I always felt that I was having to dig in and really, like if I was playing fingerstyle, I always felt that I had to really hit those treble strings hard to get the melody to come out, or to my ears anyway. Now, when you plug these guitars in, that all changes, because you have complete control over the sound with the preamp and the pickup. So that's a different story, and 90% of the time that's what I was doing with this guitar anyway. But yeah, I remember at the time the trebles, I was really having to dig in to my ears. They just weren't there. They were really muffled, and that I can tell you now. So if, like I said in the intro of the video, if you're interested to find out what happens to a Maton guitar over the years of constant playing and tough love, and even just as a question of time, letting the years roll by and the guitar age naturally, you'd be glad to hear that some very positive things happen to the guitar. This guitar has always felt extremely well built to me. Always felt that way. I always felt that you could play hurling with this, and if you're not sure what hurling is, look up hurling on YouTube or Google. It's Ireland's national sport, and it's a fast-paced field game played with a stick called a hurl or a hurley. I always said that you could play hurling with these kind of guitars because they're so well built. Some people say overbuilt, and that may be the case, but again, if you if you're a professional musician and you're out gigging all the time in weird conditions and different humidity conditions, and if you sweat all night, you know, this is definitely one of the guitars to consider, because it isn't. These are not delicate guitars. There's nothing kind of delicate and frilly about them. They're a working man's guitar, a working person's guitar in every way. But you might be able to hear it yourself. I mean, this guitar just sings now, so those trebles. Yeah. This guitar has definitely found its voice. Yep. So over the years, what I've noticed is the woods have completely stabilized. In the early days, I remember there were some slight rattles somewhere in the guitar, but that's fairly normal. That happens with instruments in general. They're all gone. The woods in the guitar feel like they've dried out, but not in a dehumidified way, so they don't feel dehydrated. They feel like it's a guitar now. It's comfortable being a guitar. In the early days, a guitar doesn't feel comfortable being a guitar. There's no question about that. It takes a guitar a while to feel like a guitar. But this guitar has completely settled, and it definitely sounds better than ever. It wouldn't surprise me if this guitar continues to improve the tone. What I've noticed is as well, I hope the microphones pick this up. That low, maybe something very, very small and insignificant, but when you're, like I said, intimately familiar with an instrument, that low E is just beautiful to my ears. It sounds like a piano. Yeah. So that's about it. I think about in terms of my thoughts on the guitar, and the amount of time that has passed between me buying the guitar and today. So that brings us to the last section of the video, section 3, where I just kind of tell you some stories about the guitar and how much it means to me. So I've been gigging for the guts of 20 years, professionally and semi-professionally. And in the early days, I was using a Tanglewood guitar, and I also used an Avalon Silver Series guitar, which were great guitars for the price. They were amazing value. But then I bought this. I remember saving up money in a glass jar from pub gigs to buy this, and I sold the Avalon as well, and I was able to put some money towards this. But in 2007, the landscape was very different in terms of Maton availability in Europe. So there were no Maton dealers in Ireland at that stage. So I wasn't able to go and try a Maton guitar out. It was a blind buy online, and luckily it turned out. It worked out well. But I had to contact a shop in England called Guitar Village, and I bought a few different things from them over the years. But my first purchase from them was this guitar, and it wasn't even sent in a Maton branded case. It was sent in a cheap hard case, and it made its way over to Ireland. And I remember as well opening the case and being struck at just how bright the spruce is. I mean, if you look here, you can kind of see the color of the spruce underneath. So there's no stain on this guitar. This is the natural color, or the color that is naturally developed on the wood. But I've worn that kind of top layer of the wood away, so it gives you a rough idea of what the guitar was like before. But actually, it was even brighter. It was whiter than that. I'll try and get a photograph, and I'll show you if I can find the photo. But it was so bright. and it's aged beautifully over the years. But like I say, that the landscape was very different, so it was a blind buy for me, and I started to use the Maton guitar then in a two-piece that I was playing in at the time called Fretware. And we started off playing blues and jazz stuff, and then moved into kind of becoming acoustic jukebox for just we used to just try and get gigs anywhere and everywhere. And our selling point was, if we know the song, we'll play it for you. So this Maton guitar was with me through the whole shebang really of the two-piece, and I played in some Irish bands as well, Irish folk bands over the years, and this thing was with me along the way. If I can find some footage, some old footage of that, I'll add it to the video. No one ever caught you in the cartoon radar. Gold digging, dogs in the moonlight, far away from the well-lit door. Mr. Beer Belly, get these butts away from me. You know, I don't find this stuff amusing anymore. And you be my bodyguard. So over the years it has been, I don't want to say the word abused because that makes it sound like I was really hard on it. It wasn't that, it was kind of tough love out of necessity. So I think the worst the worst thing that ever happened to this was we were due to support Horslips, the Irish Celtic rock band Horslips. We were due to support them, I don't know what year, 2012 maybe, 2013. And we were due to support them in Dunluce Castle, which is right up at the very north coast of Ireland, an absolutely jaw-dropping landscape up there. So the gig happened on the castle grounds, and about 3 days before the gig, I had come home. It was during the summer, so you might find this hard to believe, but the weather was pretty good in Ireland. It was really warm, and I came home and accidentally left the guitar in the boot of the car, and it was like an oven inside the car because of the weather. I think it might have been, you know, in the high 20s Celsius, so 26, 27, 28 maybe. So if you leave a guitar in a hard case in a car in direct sunlight, it turns into an oven. So I thought nothing of it, it just didn't occur to me. Unfortunately, and I took the guitar out of its case the next day, and usually this guitar, Maton guitars in general, hold their tuning very well, but I took the guitar out and it kind of sounded like this. I'll try and impersonate what it sounded like. I thought, oh gee, what the hell, that's very unusual for this guitar. And I started to tune up and I heard, I went, where did that come from? And just here the bridge was starting to lift up, the glue had melted in the heat of the car, and I went, oh Jesus, I need this guitar for the Horslips gig in a couple of days. What am I going to do? So I went to my usual luthier, and he for one reason or another wasn't available, because it really was last minute. And I contacted a friend of mine and a guitar builder who sadly is no longer with us, a guy called John Catherwood. He was a local builder from County Down. And I said to him, John, this is an emergency, I'll pay you whatever money it takes to get this done quickly. So I brought the guitar along to him, and I have some photographs of that at the time, so I'll share them here on the screen. So John did an absolutely stellar job, and what a turnaround. It was finished in, like, I would say less than 48 hours, and the guitar was good to go. So he had to take the bridge off. And remember that, well, maybe you don't know this, but the Maton guitars are kind of built around the pickup system. So he was able to work around that and glue the bridge back into place with super strength glue. I don't know what it was called, but he told me, I said to him, is there a chance that this might happen again? And he said, no, the wood is weaker than the glue. Well, the way he put it was, the glue that I've used is stronger than the wood itself. So he says that's not going to happen again, as in the bridge won't lift up. And it hasn't. So that's, what, over 10 years ago. So he was able to take it, sand it all down and glue it back into place, put the pickup all back exactly the way it was and put it under tension, and it was completely fine. But I tell you what, when I played that gig for Horslips, the whole time I was on stage, because it was a big festival stage, the whole time I was going, please don't snap, please don't crack, please don't let me hear the bridge go again. But it was all good, and it has been good since.
And now, if you're a fan of the world famous guitar player Tommy Emmanuel, you'll certainly appreciate the next act. They're Fretware, and they're from Belfast.
I sold to the company store. If you see me come, I better step aside. A lot of men didn't, a lot of men died.
So, I don't think of any other specific stories to tell you, other than, you know, just stupid things that happen on nights out. You know, I remember one night I had the guitar on a stand in a nightclub in Belfast. So we were the kind of the acoustic relief, because the nightclub, you know, there was a DJ upstairs, and we were downstairs playing the acoustic stuff for people who had enough of the kind of the thumping music upstairs. So they would come down and they would boogie with us. But I remember I had this guitar on a stand. It wasn't the most stable stand, it was a fold-up stand, because we tried to kind of travel as light as possible. So there it was on the stand, and a guy came up and he was hammered. Just a punter came up, and I don't know what he was asking for. I don't know whether he was going to ask, like, request for a song or request to play my guitar. You never know what you're going to get. It's always a potluck. So the guy came up, but he stumbled on his way towards me, and he stumbled for whatever reason, stumbled towards the guitar. And I thought, it was a split-second decision, and I remember like reaching out to try and grab the guitar, but as I moved towards the guitar to try and protect it, I actually knocked the guitar off the stand myself. So not only that, so the guitar hit the deck, and I can't remember what finger it was, but one of my I think it was maybe this, my baby finger, swole up. It was like double the size the next morning. So I ended up staving something, or really badly spraining that finger. And I remember saying to people the next day, sending photographs going, does this look okay? And they just went, A&E, right now, emergency department, do it. You don't know what has happened. So I remember I went down into the A&E in Belfast and sat for, I don't know how many hours, 2-3 hours. And it was x-rayed, and thankfully there was nothing broken and nothing serious. There was no serious damage done. And the doctor said to me, you're going to have to rest that for a couple of days. And I said there, but I have a gig tonight. And she went, no gig tonight. And I went, if I don't do the gig, I don't get paid. And she went, I'm giving you medical advice here that you shouldn't be playing guitar, and you shouldn't be out in public in a risky scenario like what happened to you last night. I'm saying that as a medical professional. And I said, oh, okay, I'll take your medical advice on board. But I ended up doing the gig anyway. I needed the money. I was skint. I needed the money. So yeah, and you know, there's been things happen where people come up to you again, and they, you know, drunk people just doing what they do. And the guy came up one night with a full pint of Guinness and fell towards me. I was sitting down this night. It was an outdoor gig, and the guy came up and he tripped on something. And so the Guinness went all over me. His full pint of Guinness went all over me, and it went into it actually went into the guitar, into the sound hole, and the mic stand that was in front of me. So it was sitting like this, and the mic stand fell, and it ended up gouging a massive big line into the guitar. And I think I only had the guitar 3 weeks, maybe even less. And it's actually, you know, you can't see the gouge anymore because it's here. So maybe you can see the last of it, maybe, I don't know. But that's exactly where the gouge was. So the mic stand just went and ran across that part of the guitar. But you can't see it anymore because I've added to it. It's also been signed by Tommy Emmanuel. He signed it for me somewhere. I think it was Belfast it was, but he signed it in the usual place that he signed, so it was like here somewhere. But that's long gone now. That's been wiped off with blood, sweat, piss and tears, you know. So that was my love letter to this guitar, Skippy. It's always had the nickname Skippy. So that has been my long-term review of the Maton EBG808 Artist. So I just want to thank Maton Guitars for creating this absolutely amazing companion for a gigging musician. I have been able to rely on this guitar 100% of the time. This guitar has never ever let me down. If anything has ever gone wrong, it's been my fault. But the guitar itself, it has been the best gigging guitar that I could have ever asked for. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, folks. There's more to come, as always. If you have any questions about this guitar, or if you have any other comments, whatever, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll get back to you. Thanks a million. See you in the next one.